Hey y'all, just wanted to talk to you for a minute today about a subject that I think has kind of lost its steam a little bit, the fear of the Lord. In our world, it doesn't seem like too many people fear the Lord anymore, and maybe it's really got to the point to where people don't really understand what it means to fear the Lord. I know a lot of people think it just means to have high reverence, or I don't know. They just think it's a little bit watered down, I think. But I will tell you this. I remember back here a few years ago when the Jesus is my homeboy thing came out. I really think it really diminished what it means to fear the Lord. So I want to share with you today a scripture, a couple scriptures actually. Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment." Well, I think we all want good judgment, and that's kind of what we're all shooting for, and that's what we're all kind of failing on a lot of times too. So let's talk about the fear of the Lord, and maybe today we can help ourselves um, find a way to have some better judgment. So one thing, if you go to Matthew 10:28, it says, "Don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. They cannot touch your soul. Fear only God, who can destroy both soul and body in hell." So one thing we have to come to the realization is a lot of the stuff that's out there is a lie. A lot of people like to think that God does not send people to hell, and I've even seen stuff that says, God doesn't send you to hell. You just decide to go to hell. Well, that's kind of true, but not really, because in the end, it's God's judgment that will send you, either bring you into heaven, into His presence, or send you to hell. And we have to also understand that nothing was created without God. So that would mean that God created hell. So that would be a good reason to fear the Lord. I know that the doctrine of salvation can be a little displeasing too, because sometimes it just tells people that everybody's going to heaven, and that's not true. So the second thing I want to show you is Matthew 5:22. It says, "But I say, even if you are angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell." So I'm not trying to use hell here to scare us and cause us to fear God because He could send us to hell or because of hell. So I want to get off the subject of hell for a minute and just talk about the fact that we need to find a good, healthy fear of God. And a lot of us didn't have dads that caused a healthy fear. I just happened to have a dad who caused me to understand a healthy fear. I want to share that with you today. My dad wasn't the greatest guy in the world. He didn't do all the right things, and he didn't teach me all the right things. But God used him to show me what it means to have a good fear of a father. And, me and my dad hung out a lot. We did everything together. I was the last. Once all the other kids were gone, it was just me and him. And we fished, we hunted, we did a lot of good stuff together. And I enjoyed my dad. I love the time I spent with my dad when I was a little kid. Um, but even in those times, in the back of my mind, somewhere in my subconscious, I feared him. There are things that I didn't do around him because I knew that he could go from 0 to 60 in a second if I was to step out of line. And that was just the kind of dad he was. He loved and cherished his times with me too. But the moment I stepped out of line, he could get pretty fierce. We have to understand that that is the God we serve. God is a loving, gracious, caring God who loves us, but He will not be taken advantage of, and He's not going to just sit around and let us take advantage of Him. And He's also not just going to sit around and let us go out of line. So a lot of times, our problems, our struggles, is God kicking us in the butt. We're being punished in a way. He doesn't. Sometimes we have an ill definition of that word "punish," but God is. Um, Bible says that He does. He chastens those who He loves. And so let us not be deceived in the fact that God can be harsh. He can set us straight, but He also can be very loving and very gracious. So if we want to see our behaviors change, if, as we've seen in Proverbs, if we want to have good judgment, which I think we do, then we need to find a healthy fear of the Lord, and we need to practice that healthy fear. So I hope you guys have a good day. I didn't bring this to scare you, try to scare you from God, because God does not want you to be scared of Him, but He does want to have a good, healthy relationship with you. A lot of us don't really understand, because of our past, what it means to have a good, healthy relationship. So as we move forward, and today, um, maybe we can begin to start to try to understand what it means to have a good, healthy relationship with God. And if you don't know God today, please, you can reach out to me anytime. If you feel like you just don't really have a relationship with the Lord, reach out to me or reach out to somebody who does, and talk about that and find out how you can have a relationship with God. So have a good day, y'all.